I'm gonna show you how you can make your GameMaker games moddable or also mod GameMaker games, including this SDK. I'm just gonna do it with this written tutorial here, and I'm also gonna explain the steps I have written in this tutorial already. And yeah, this is just gonna be like a live demo of what's happening in this wall of text here. And let's just get started. So first off, step 0 here is using the right GameMaker version. It is really important to use a version of GameMaker which supports this. Yeah, you can find the versions in this tutorial as well. Yeah, let's just get started with importing the SDK into your game. First thing you want to do is go to the releases page on the GitHub and get this GMEZ archive file downloaded and import it. So how you can do that is just really simple. I'm just going to remove it and re-import it again. That will import the extension package, and what you also have to do is double click it, go to import resources, and click that fancy arrow over here. This will import all the scripts, save the project, and you're ready to go. This is everything you need to get this whole thing set up. All right, cool. So now when you run the game, you will notice without adding any objects, there will be some fancy like messages in the output window, which is being triggered by this pragma holder, which calls this pragma function, or it doesn't call it, but it just holds it, which will then just call this script here. And that will then actually be the cause for these things. So yeah, everything this project contains is just a red sprite and a ball object, which has a variable, like a local variable set to 99, just for debug purposes. So let's get over how to actually mod your game, because right now this project or the executable game you can generate from this is actually already moddable, and you can actually customize which like functions the mods for your game should be able to use in this script. So every function you want to make available for the mods, you have to pass in here. And something important to notice is that this whole thing is actually the same as this. So if I were to add, I don't know, like a DS list function, I would just grab that, paste it, and then just say, I don't know, DS list create. And now the mods would be able to use DS list create. So you want to do this for every function you want mods to support. So yeah, this is how you do it. And also make sure that the init function done is the last thing that is being called here. So don't do something like this, for example, because then it will just, I don't know, it might actually just ignore that then, which you probably don't want. So just leave it in as the last thing. All right. So now that your game is moddable, let's just do the first little mod for it, right? So let's get over how to actually write a mod. Um, First thing you probably want to do is go to the GitHub and clone the whole repo. You can either do that with the git commands, or you can also just download the zip file. This will contain all the source code from this project here. And then you can just go ahead and open this in Visual Studio 2019. You might actually also be able to use this in another version, but I'm not sure with the build tools and everything, so I don't know. Most people use 2019, so yeah. And also make sure that your target platform is x86, because per default, GameMaker, like the legacy GameMaker, which means 1.4 and before, use 32-bit platforms. Jumping to the modding section of this tutorial, first thing after cloning the repo is going to config.h, which you can find over here in the header files, and you want to comment out this define. So if it is like this, you want to have it like this. So this define thing isn't actually active, which will then flip the switch for these whole things here, and then we'll actually call this execute patching method on load. And now inside here you can actually write all the code. If you want code to run not once but for the whole time, you might actually use some threading in here, which I'm not going to do now because it just makes everything so much more complicated. We can actually just go ahead and do like a show message, which is pretty easy. So there's a namespace called GML, which will hold all, or not all, but some predefined function, which I have pre-written for people to use them. And you can see it has show debug message and show message. So we can just go ahead and call show message and say hello from C or C++. All right. Then we could go ahead and get a variable from the object. I'm just going to call it val. And we do that by going GML variable instance get. And then the instance ID, which is going to be, because there's only one object in the room, this is going to be, what is that? 100,000. How you can get the instance variables or like the instance IDs is by showing the message and then the ID, and this will just give you the number of this object, which also won't change. This will always be the same for this one object here. Okay, so now this is the reference to the object, which is in this case is the ball. And then we also want the variable which we want to get. So because we only have one variable in here, this is of course going to be sus. Let's just write sus. And then what did I do? I printed it to the debug output. So again, GML show debug message and sus value is, and then I'm just going to typecast it, to string the val get real, because in GameMaker this value which we're getting here, so GML var can actually be anything like a string or an integer or whatever. So you actually have to say what as which type you want to receive it from that value. So we want to have it as a real because it is an integer or a real number. Okay, so that is everything for that. We can just go ahead, go to build solution, or just press Control B. Oh yeah, if this happens to you, you want to make sure that your game is closed, and then you can rebuild it, because I previously had the game injected with that DLL, so I couldn't overwrite it. So now if we go back to the game, start it again. All right, that looks good. Open the injector again. Pick our newly built DLL. Click on refresh. Windows not there. Click on refresh again. We have the example. We can go inject, and now you can already see it saying hello from C++. And you can also see that it gave us the output value. Okay, so now we could actually do some more fancy stuff like actually setting a variable from the mod. So how you do that is because if you type GML, there won't be variable instance set, only variable instance get, because I haven't added that yet. So you will need to call the function directly, which I'm going to show you now is being done like this. Variable instance set, and then it will take some args. So we need to get GML var args like this, and then the instance ID, which is going to be the same as this one. Then the name of the variable to set, which is going to be sus, and then the value of the variable, which is just going to be 1000 for now. Pass that into here, and we probably want to print that again. So I'm just going to do this. I think we can leave that even. Yeah. Okay. So build again. Val is redefined. Cool. I'm just going to do it the dirty way now. There we go. Start the game again. Let's see if this works. I hope it works. I really do. Okay. Refresh. Here's the example. Hello. There we go. Okay. So we can see sus value is 99, which was the default value. And now we actually set the value here. And we read the value again, which is 1000. So this whole code here actually worked, which is pretty cool. All right, I think that's it for this tutorial. One important more thing I'm going to show you is because, for example, if some like function isn't already registered, you can't call it. It will throw an error. So you have to make sure that before trying to use it in C++, you have to have it in here. So I added that here. This might not actually be the case for the downloadable version of the SDK. You might have to add that yourself.